GM. Welcome to another episode of Web3 Academy, your one trusted source to capitalize on the next big phase of the internet. We make sense of an on-chain world in constant transformation. Do not get caught in the meme coin hype cycle. I'm Jay Bird, joined by my co-host Kyle Reedhead, and we believe that the Bitcoin ETF is coming so soon and will change the world. That's why we're carving a path for doers to confidently build and invest in Web3.
Friends, we've got an excellent episode, our final episode before Christmas comes along and the holidays. But we're going to be talking about, is Ethereum dead? Is ETH dead? Should we get out? Is that a bad trade? We'll touch on that a little bit in the Market Watch, but more in the middle of the show where we'll talk about things going on in the Ethereum ecosystem. The Solana Saga phone is definitely not dead. I'll tell you that for free because that thing is pumping. Yeah, the phone. I'm not talking about the token, although that thing is too. But speaking of things pumping, we'll also talk about meme coins. There's the Memecoin Mania, which is brewing. Jay says don't get caught in it, but don't not get caught in it too. You know, you might want to be in that. Speaking of things pumping, inscriptions are just going nuts on basically every blockchain now. This is no longer just a Bitcoin thing. We'll cover what's going on there. And then some new innovation happening across gaming. We've got something that I'm really excited about called global embedded wallets. We'll explain what that is and so much more. Jay, before we get into this though, what's your gratitude?
I am grateful that Christmas, my favorite holiday, is right around the corner. My wife Sam's parents are here right now. Next week, my brother and my sister and my ex-stepmom, I got a weird modern family, are all coming to our house. And then the week after that, we've got a group of friends coming. It's just a great season, seeing so many friends and family. Very excited to celebrate Christmas. I got my favorite Christmas sweater on right now. If you guys are watching on YouTube or on Spotify, I got my Christmas hat. It's a good season, you know, Christmas music playing. We watched a Christmas movie last night. I just happy, you know, it's all good.
That's nice. I love that. Look, I'm pumped for Christmas too. Decembers are a bit exhausting because of all the birthdays and other things, but I'm very pumped. But I'm actually more excited and grateful for what's coming in less than 2 weeks now, which is my girlfriend and I are taking a year of traveling. I obviously work while traveling, so that's going to be great. She's doing somewhat similar, but we are heading off to Argentina, Buenos Aires, in January 2nd. We'll be there for a month. Then we're off to Chile. Then we're off to Brazil. And then we don't really know where from there, but probably Central America. But it'll be a nice 6 months of warm weather, beach, surf, all the wonderful things. So as much as I'm pumped to be in Canada for Christmas and be with family, my mind's already over in South America at this point.
So exciting. We should get a little Web3 Academy tour going on while you guys are touring the world.
Yeah, we might have to.
All right, let's start as we always do with the Market Watch. Make sure you guys are on top of what is happening in the markets. They don't sleep during Christmas, during New Year's. They keep on rocking, and we want to make sure your investments are safe and confident. Kai, what's going on in the markets this week?
Yeah, so quick roundup. We've had a nice little pump this morning after a bit of a dip, but today we are up 4% on Bitcoin. For the week, we are up 6%. It's been a struggle of a week, but it's been a nice morning to say the least. Ethereum as well is also up 3%. It is lagging Bitcoin, which doesn't necessarily come as a surprise. We always said the flows of crypto work similar to past cycles. So we're only up 3% today, up 2% on the week. And then Solana, just the beast that, you know, the gift of Christmas that just keeps on giving, is up 10% today, up 17% on the week, 31 on the month, 383 on the 6 months, and 700% on the year. This thing is just an absolute beast. One that we haven't covered a little bit, but we wrote a bunch about in our pro report is Coinbase. This thing's actually almost even better than Solana is. This thing's up 4.6% today, up 10.8% in the last 5 days. 67% in the last month. It's a stock, and this thing is just absolutely crushing it. Kudos to anyone who got into Coinbase. We put out a call, I don't know, about a month ago now, but actually we also put one out in like August, I think it was, when it was around $60. So you'd be almost 3x that by now if you were a pro subscriber. It's a good day, good week, good month for assets, crypto and tech large. I just want to show this one. We talked about this a while ago, the NASDAQ, which remember we talked about that cup and handle thing? You were like, you kind of laughing when I explained that chart pattern. Look at this thing. It's like a quarter of the way played out so far. It is just going nuts. NASDAQ is now past all-time highs. which is very bullish just for macro and everything at large. So that is all good news. It's smooth sailing. We put out a newsletter last Friday called Full Send Everything. And that's basically where I think we're going for the rest of the year. So good times ahead. Here's the not so good times for a lot of people in this space that are really big into ETH. And I want to talk about this, which is the ETH BTC chart. I've covered this like big 7-year wedge pattern that's going on with ETH Bitcoin. Basically said if it breaks to the upside, then, eventually Ethereum flips Bitcoin. If it breaks to the downside, well, that could be sort of bad news for ETH. Don't really know what it means, but it's a big, big, big pattern that kind of tells a long story of two main assets across an ecosystem. And at the moment, for a number of weeks, we've been kind of hitting along the blue line, which is the bottom of that wedge pattern, but we've never really broken through. We've broken through little bits, but never closed on the weekly. We still have not yet, but ETH is now at 0.051, the ETH to Bitcoin ratio. And the weekly here is well below that not well below, but it's below the blue line. Now, we haven't closed on the week, so it's not a confirmed breakout to the bottom. And even if it did close, you got to give it a couple weeks. But we're flirting with territory we have not seen in 7 years on the ETH Bitcoin ratio for this specific pattern. So it's a telling sign. We'll see where it goes. Maybe we close this thing out at the end of the week. I don't know. Let's see what happens. But definitely something I'm really watching. And again, I think if Bitcoin ETF approves, then I think ETH sees its moment. And this likely comes back into that wedge pattern and goes up much higher, but maybe not. I mean, is ETH dead is the title of this episode, and it's something we're going to cover in a little bit. The one thing I just want to say before we get into, in the middle of the episode, we're going to get into fundamentals, but from a markets perspective, from an investment perspective, I've had a ton of people asking in the Discord, what's going on with ETH? Should I be rotating into Solana or other tokens at this point, or back into Bitcoin? And the one thing I want to say is, this industry is super narrative driven. And what often happens is we take a narrative, we go too far to that narrative, so far to one side, and then we mean revert. We come back to where the sort of middle ground is, the mean is. And we could think of this as Solana, right? In January, February, March, everyone's like, Solana's dead. Solana was down to $8 at the beginning of this year. And it was Ethereum and the L2 ecosystem was it. It was like, that was the take that everyone on Twitter said. And it was so obvious. And all of a sudden, a few months later, we have Solana just absolutely tearing and ripping apart. And now everyone's like, oh, Ethereum and L2 makes 0 sense. It's definitely this monolithic chain. And Solana is the chain of all chains, and it's going to flip Ethereum. And it's like, 3 months ago, everyone on Twitter was saying the complete opposite thing. But people see this price and they just all of a sudden go, oh, you know what? Everything's changed. The fundamentals have changed. It's like, that's just not how this stuff works. And so I just want to remind people, if you're jumping into a trade because it's and I say this in quotations, the for sure thing, you're probably about to get wrecked, right? The last thing you want to do is join the trade that everyone's already doing that's saying it's the for sure thing, because that's when it's typically too late. Now, these things can run for a long time. And I'm also, by the way, not saying don't buy Solana or whatever. I've been putting calls in Solana for a long time. In fact, I have up on the screen here, this was a very contrarian take at the time. This was early October, or in October. I said, hey, it's Solana's time. I think we should be putting money into Solana. I think it's about to rip. In October, which was what is it, 3 months ago? Something like that?
Not even 2 months ago.
Yeah, 2 months ago. This was kind of a risky thing to say. I sat there when I wrote this out and said, Solana's time has come. I said, Solana looks really good. And I was like, should I put this in there? People are going to get mad, and people might get wrecked. And I was a little bit scared, and I put it, and obviously it was an incredible bet. This was it was at $25 when I said this. And then even a month before that, I said, hey, my spidey senses are tingling. I think markets are about to have a big move upside. Yet for the last 3 months before this, we had a down only in all markets. And then I said, hey, it looks like, I think anyway, the fundamentals are lining up that things are going to go up really well, even though that was very contrarian. And it was tough to say this one as well. Kind of put myself on a limb there. And because everyone was calling on Twitter that we were dead, inflation was going to go higher, markets were going to go lower. And so this was a non-crowded trade. And so if you got into markets, all of a sudden everyone rushed in because they're like, oh shit, we're behind. Same with Solana. If you took the contrarian take and said, hey, Solana's not dead, I'm going to buy this throughout the year when no one was talking about it, those are the times you want to be buying, when no one's talking about it, but the underlying fundamentals are still there. And I kind of think that we're at that stage right now with Ethereum. It's weird to say that Ethereum is a contrarian take, considering it's just been the take all year. But over the last month, 2 months, if you look on Twitter, everyone is saying Ethereum is going to die, which just doesn't make sense. And that's when you start to know, okay, the sentiment is really going the wrong way. We probably just mean revert. And so that's my base case on what happens here. But again, let's see. These contrarian takes, though, these are the best times to be investing. So I would not be selling here. Now, if things don't go well after the ETF, whether it's approved or not approved, and Ethereum continues to lag, at that point, I might start to change my thesis. But right now, I'm sticking to the plan.
It's amazing how short-term memory is such a thing in investing and in crypto. Like, things move so fast, and within a few months, you can completely forget what was true 2 months ago and is still true today, has not changed.
And by the way, in the rest of this episode, we are going to have a big section on why we think the fundamentals are still there for Ethereum, even though I know a lot of people are like, well, the gas fees are too high. We're going to talk about that whole scenario a little bit into the episode. That'll wrap us up for the Market Watch. Let's get into all the big things going on in the crypto space. Before we do that, let's take a quick second to hear it from our sponsor.
Modern newsletters are built on Paragraph. That's right. Paragraph is a brand new newsletter platform that combines the best parts of Web 2 and Web 3 to supercharge newsletters for both writers and readers. Build a community, not just an audience. Paragraph uses blockchain tech to allow readers to collect and own the words that matter to them. This takes reading a newsletter to the next level. With Paragraph, readers can mint, collect, and show off quotes from their favorite newsletters. This opens new possibilities like creators sharing revenue with fans. I also love their new feature, Paragraph AI. This integrates GPT-4 natively in Paragraph to create, edit, and improve your writing effortlessly with one click. And guess what? We at Web3 Academy are on board and have already moved our content over to Paragraph. We believe this is the future of newsletters because of the profound engagement it creates between creators and fans. So, whether you're a creator, writer, or an avid reader, it's time to check out Paragraph and capitalize on the opportunity of being early. Welcome back. We're starting off today's episode with a little bit of talk of what is happening with the Bitcoin ETF. When do we think it is coming? And you know who thinks the Bitcoin ETF is interesting is the Dos Equis man, the most interesting man in the world. Bitwise put out an ad for their Bitcoin ETF, which isn't even live yet, their Bitcoin spot ETF. I'm just going to play it for you guys here so you can check it out.
You know what's interesting these days? Bitcoin. Look for Bitwise, my friends.
I used to love this guy, the most interesting man in the world, just a legend. A really good ad. I mean, look, it's super basic, super simple, but like people vibe with that ad, I think, if you know the Dos Equis commercials. My big take here on this, Jay, is don't think that people realize how much marketing is about to come into Bitcoin. And Ethereum at large. This is the other thing with Ethereum too, because likely that ETF is coming as well. So next year is going to be full of commercials and billboards and, ads everywhere from the biggest institutions in the world trying to promote their Bitcoin ETF and then eventually their ETH ETF. So the dynamics of, crypto being a contrarian take are about to go out the window because you're going to have all the biggest financial institutions in the world running ads just like this. And if this is the first one, I'll tell you right now, BlackRock sees this and goes, okay, let's beat them. And who do they get? I don't know. Tom Brady or whatever. Maybe not Tom Brady. He already went with FTX and that didn't go so well. But you got to assume there's going to be bigger celebrities, better commercials coming in the next few months. So I'm excited to see this all play out.
I want you to share when you think the Bitcoin ETF is coming. But before you do, some news out of BlackRock. What happened they made a change to their ETF filing? What happened here?
Yeah, so this news is actually not even just out of BlackRock. There have been 24 meetings with the SEC and all of the Bitcoin ETF institutions in the last week alone. BlackRock met with them 3 times last week. 3. This is just unheard of. And they're basically at this point, it's a done deal. They're just figuring out these 2 different, I don't really want to get into details explaining because honestly, I don't fully get it, but you could have in kind or in cash is the way that the Bitcoin ETF works. So basically you got to pay, it's some of the background stuff. So that's what they're sort of debating on. There's 2 different ways that you can do this. And SEC wants them all to do it one way. But for the ETF filers, the companies, they want the other way because they think they can make more money that way. And I think it's just a better setup. But the SEC is worried about the ability to money launder through this ETF. And so they want it this other, a little bit more stricter way. It doesn't really matter for us, like the users, the consumers, for the most part. So anyway, they've basically all decided and agreed that they'll just do what the SEC is saying. And so they've all made these amendments over the last week, BlackRock included. And it looks like most of them have now done it. And so now we're just like waiting. There is a chance that this happens before Christmas, so by Friday. And if not by Friday, we're definitely waiting until after the new year because I think they shut down over the holidays anyway. So it's most likely it's January 9th, January 9th or 10th. There's like a small window, which is maybe explaining the pump today. I'm not sure, but that we get this thing by Friday, which I put up a tweet this morning. I was like, imagine this timeline. The SEC approves the Bitcoin spot ETF, and then Gary Gensler just tweets out, "Merry Christmas, you filthy animals." And it was just like, I thought that, and I was like, I kind of think he would do it. Like, I could actually see him loves to troll on Twitter. Anyway, it'd be funny, but we'll see. If it does, we confirmed we live in a simulation, but let's see what happens.
All right, Elon, from living in a simulation to Solana, how can we not talk about Solana? We're talking about it every week right now. The Solana Saga phone is absolutely pumping. What's going on here, Kai?
Yeah, this one I wasn't expecting. So obviously very bullish on Solana and its ecosystem, a lot happening there. But then this wildness comes, which also is a little bit of a potential top signal. I don't know that it is. Like, I don't think this thing tops. We're so early in the bull market that saying any top signal is ridiculous. But when I say top, I mean like a local top when things get a little bit crazy. So the Solana Saga phone launched, I don't know, last year or whatever. No one really bought it. They sold like a couple thousand, but they only made 20,000. So the rest were all just kind of sitting there. But what interestingly happened here is that when you bought the Solana Saga phone, because it's a hardware wallet, inside that wallet was 100 million bonk. Okay?
30 million.
30 million bonk. Bonk is the meme coin that's on Solana that's been going absolutely nuts, is now worth like 1.3 billion market cap. And so just last week, people realized, oh, if I buy this phone for $600, it's the phone cost, the amount of bonk that's in there, because it's gone up so much in the last few weeks, is now worth more than the phone itself. And so people realized they could buy Solana phone, sell the bonk or hold the bonk if you want, and they get a phone for free. And so people started buying this thing up like crazy just because they could get a free phone for it. Why not, right? Makes complete sense. So all of a sudden, they sold out in a matter of a week. You can buy Solana Saga phones on the secondaries on like eBay for $2,000 to like $4,000 at this point. The Solana Saga phone is now selling for more than the iPhone 15 Pro, which is just absolutely insane. And so this has just been wild. And then what happened was all of a sudden, there started being rumors that other applications on Solana that are airdropping tokens are going to drop extra tokens to Solana Saga holders. So then that's why it started to sell for even more on secondaries. And we had our first one just yesterday, Access Protocol, which is a protocol on top of Solana that has already airdropped 100,000 ACS tokens worth about $250. So if you buy this on a Saga phone, which you can't now, well, you can buy it on secondaries only, you're basically getting about $1,000 so far, plus potential more airdrops. There's rumors that Jupiter, which has its airdrop coming in January, is going to give extra tokens to Solana Saga phone holders as well. So just a wild story on the timeline that I did not expect. But once again, I think I say this every week, only in crypto does this happen. And actually only possible on Solana.
The idea of speculating on a piece of hardware makes zero sense. Unless it's like, I guess
it's not speculation anymore. It's a guarantee. If you happen to get that thing, you get your bonk, you get your access.
You get your bonk. But if you're buying it on eBay for $2,000 to $4,000, you're clearly speculating on the
that is
drops, right? Yes. And what I don't understand is why anybody would buy a phone that they are no longer making and likely will not continue to make, because Solana has decided to focus on building a great blockchain, which, like, kudos to the team. Great decision. The Saga was really a marketing play for them. Yeah, maybe they thought they could build a great piece of hardware because we need better wallet hardware in order to manage our crypto. And they were like, we'll just put it in the phone. So, like, sure, the thesis made sense. But now that they've decided not to continue making the Solana Saga, like, this is clearly a speculation play. Like, I don't think any of these people even plan to use this phone, is my bet.
No, I wouldn't think so. the nice thing of it is you can have your normal iPhone, and then you have your hardware wallet phone that you use to like go and farm airdrops and play around. Like degen's going to degen, and so it is a great way to sort of separate and actually probably a lot safer, more secure, because you're not mixing up your like MetaMask and your normal phone. So like kind of get that, but otherwise, it's basically an NFT. There's 20K collection, right? It's got utility, and then there's the speculative aspects around it where you might get airdrops. It's like a Bored Ape Yacht Club at this point. So it's pretty funny, but there's just no place like crypto for degens. That's for sure. Like, where else do you get a speculative mania around a phone? It's hilarious. I love it. Really, really do love it.
Well, speaking of no place like crypto and bonk going crazy, Memecoin Mania is in full effect right now. Meme coins are firing across all chains, several L1s, several L2s. Bonk isn't the only one. Now, Bonk is doing particularly well because earlier this week, it got listed on Coinbase. It became only the third meme coin to be listed on Coinbase. And as a result, it shot up to a $2 billion market cap and then came back down to a $1.2 billion market cap. The fact that a meme coin has over $1 billion market cap is absolutely insane, though. And that's not the only one. We also have COQ over on AVAX, which reached 200 million. We have Ninja on Injective that reached 30 million market cap. NOLA on Arbitrum reached 14 million market cap. And Toshi on Base got up to 100 million market cap and then dropped back down since then. So there is a lot happening on meme coins. Everyone's wondering, should you be investing in meme coins? Big, big risk, obviously. Here's the interesting thing to me is that meme coins right now they're creating value in real time, and they're also creating discovery on chain. So while we all talk about, meme coins are silly, they have no intrinsic value, they are making real value across a lot of L1s and a lot of L2s who are hosting these meme coins. And as a result, they're getting increased traffic, they're getting increased volume, and their native token is going up because whenever you swap, you need to use their native token. So there is definitely benefit to all of these chains. And as well, traders are forced to discover. You have to learn how to use this chain. You have to swap over to that chain. You've got it. A lot of traders have never used Injective. That's a new chain that a lot of people are talking about right now. So there's a lot of discovery that comes out of meme coins. So what I'm saying is I'm not involved in Memecoin Mania. I'm not investing, but it certainly is leading to a lot of good practice of people just trying to use new blockchains, which is what we want in the space. Now, it is degens using it. It's definitely not onboarding new users, I don't think. I don't think my mom and my uncle are coming in and buying Bonk and Pepe. But there is some good that comes from this for sure.
Yeah, I think, we always talk about social tokens, community tokens, things like that, which generally are more thought of as like speculating on a person or on a specific, use case, whether it's like a DAO or whatever. But the thing that I'm kind of seeing, I saw some tweet about this and I thought it was a good take, was, I think meme coins are just their own version of a social token. It's basically turns into like a community token. It's got this branding of whether it's a dog in a hat or not a dog in a hat or whatever. Like they've got something around it that people like and people play around with. And then a bunch of people come in, it ends up creating this sort of community. People create memes around it. Like it is internet communities and internet culture, like at its roots. Look, again, I don't participate in it. And I think, people can get wrecked. You can also, you can make some money if you're early enough. But it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. And I think it's a great thing for people that just like live on the internet. It's fun for them. Why not?
So at the same time, another meme coin that's done really well, and no surprise, it's on Solana, is Dog with Hat, which is just the most ridiculous name. And we got a great tweet here from NFT Stats. Dog with Hat is up, I think it's almost a 200 million market cap right now. Yeah. And
so less than a week to get to 200 million, by the way. Less than a week to get to 200 million.
Jesus. So he says, Pets.com took 18 months from launch to reach its peak bubble valuation of 450 million. Dog with Hat took less than a week to reach 210 million and is just getting started. One big difference though, Dog with Hat has a hat. And then, as if that was the end, then Phantom tweeted Ghost with Hat, which sent a whole bunch of people crazy thinking that Phantom was going to do an airdrop. Phantom had to follow up and say, we are not doing an airdrop. We're not doing a token. You got to be very careful if you're these larger protocols or wallets in the case of Phantom that you don't send people into a frenzy, and good for Phantom for squashing that rumor. And so that's leading everybody to say, is ETH dead? And here's another great tweet. It says, if ETH doesn't put on a hat soon, I think we're done.
Oh, man. I saw a tweet from a very renowned investor. Chow is his name. So some people will know him. He goes on a lot of podcasts, but he's like really big investor across the space. And all he put was, I was showing my wife some of these meme coins. And the first 3 I showed her, she just looked at me like I was an idiot. And then I showed her Dog Whiff hat. And she immediately bursted out laughing. And he goes, do with that information what you will. This is not investment advice. A little bit of alpha in the hat, that's for sure. I did not expect meme coins to be such a hit this early in the cycle, but it's kind of the first cycle where we've had a bunch of meme coins existing. And so it's interesting to see the cycle dynamics play out. Not the same as previous cycles, but that's because they just didn't really exist previously. So that's cool. Also, Solana allows for pure degeneracy at a very, very low cost. And so if you are a degen that just wants to, screw around with anything and everything, Solana makes that possible. We didn't really have that in the last cycle. It kind of makes sense that this stuff would come earlier than previously. And in fact, Solana's been doing so well as a result that Solana has just flipped Ethereum in 24-hour DEX volume for the first time in history. So that's huge. And then also in the same week, Solana flipped Ethereum in weekly NFT sales volume for the first time ever. So the charts on Solana are bonkers right now. If you look at the users, they were at about 250,000 all year and going down every single month. That's 250,000. I believe it was monthly active users, could be weekly. I can't remember. We don't have the chart up right now. But just in the last 2 weeks, it's gone to 1.5 million active wallet addresses. So these numbers are crazy. Now the thing, and look, I'm super bullish on Solana. I'm super bullish on their ecosystem. So don't take this as me saying anything about Solana whatsoever. The one thing that we all need to understand though is all of this, most of this is fake. The reason that this is happening is it is extremely cheap to move money on chain. And so you go to Jupiter, which everyone's farming the airdrop right now, and you just take your 10 Sol and you move it back and forth. You just keep selling it from Sol to GTO to Sol to GTO to Bonk to whatever. To any token you think on any application, you do it on Jupiter, then you do it over on the next one and the next one and all the dexes that exist there. Then you go to the NFT ones like Tensor, et cetera, and you do the same thing. You buy, sell, you buy, sell, you buy, sell. Just like what happened on Blur over the last year, where Blur's volumes got so inflated because it was everyone airdrop farming. Meanwhile, there wasn't actually real uses there. And so same with stablecoins, same thing. Same with DeFi use, liquidity. All these things are going nuts in Solana, not because there's a lot of new people coming into this ecosystem and using Solana over anything else. It's because everyone in the ecosystem that already exists has moved off Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, whatever else, and they're moving over to Solana to farm. So these are not like people that are like diehards on Solana. It's just a bunch of moving over there. And because it's so cheap, you can spin up 1,000 wallets in 5 minutes. And you can just move like one Sol over to each wallet, and you can do this with a bunch of wallets. And so this 1.5 million addresses is not 1.5 million people. And same with these volumes, all this stuff, it is not real. Now, there was a lot of liquidity going there. Solana is now over 1 billion TVL. It was like 200 million a few months ago. So it is great. There are still new people going over there and playing around it. And they get to see and experience. It's it is a net positive for Solana. Don't get me wrong. As I said, I'm super bullish. I'm just saying that don't let these numbers make you think that everything else is crap. It's just because that's where the airdrops are. And so when new people come in, it doesn't change anything for other people. Everything still looks the same. It's a bit of a illusion at the moment. And these numbers are very inflated. I just want people to understand that the revenues that these apps will be making as a result of this are not true revenues, right? Just like the volumes that Blur made back last year were not true volumes. And we've seen this play out on every ecosystem. And this isn't just a Solana thing. This already has happened on Ethereum L2s. Starknet has inflated users. ZK Sync Era has 1.4 million addresses. It says that's not true. That's just people airdrop farming. So just most metrics on chain right now are crap. And so just understand you need to take your on-chain metrics with a grain of salt at the moment.
Okay, so that brings us to an important question that you raised earlier in the show, Kai. Is Ethereum dead? What is the state of Ethereum? And we want to take some time now to just talk about the Ethereum ecosystem, both ETH and the L2s on top of it, to really take a deep dive and look into the numbers and see, is this narrative that's happening and playing out in real time on crypto Twitter, is it true? So I've got up on the screen here a Twitter thread from Sasso, real leader in the Ethereum ecosystem, great follow on Twitter. And he puts out this thread where he says, contrary to popular belief, the Ethereum ecosystem is growing rapidly with L2s leading the way. So let's take a look at some of these numbers and see what's going on. First, we have daily active addresses across ETH and L2s are at all-time highs. They are over a million, around 1.1, 1.2 million, and that is up from about 500,000 at the beginning of this year. So all-time highs continuing to rise. We look at transaction count, also all-time highs, up over 4 million, started the year around 2 million. We look at L2 stablecoin market cap, also at all-time highs, up over 2.5 billion, it's probably around 2.7, 2.8 billion, started the year around 1.5 billion. We look at Layer 2 TVL, also at all-time highs, up around 1.5 billion, started the year, 16 billion, started the year around 5 billion. We look at fees paid by L2s to L1 at all-time high. This one in particular is at a crazy all-time high because, well, how is the reason?
Inscriptions. Because of inscriptions. We'll talk about those next after we finish off this story.
Right. So you look across the ecosystem. Oh, and I got one more here. TPS, transactions per second, also at all-time highs, showing, look, it's nowhere near the transaction per second available on Solana, but it is consistently growing up, getting to faster and faster speeds so that Ethereum will be able, and the L2s will be able to scale in the same way that Solana is.
The confusion in markets right now is, we've talked a lot about the modular and monolithic blockchain, right? A monolithic blockchain is one blockchain, everything's on that one chain, and that's it. Modular is where you separate the stacks of the technology, so the data availability layer, the settlement layer, the execution layer, onto different chains or different technologies, and you have things like layer 1s, layer 2s, etc. It's separated. And so a lot of people right now are seeing, well, Ethereum is very expensive. You use Ethereum right now, it's insanely expensive. And so it's like basically unusable for most people unless you're a whale. And then people look at Solana like, well, it's super, super cheap. And then they look at L2s like, okay, these things are fine. They're not super, super cheap like Solana is, but they're pretty cheap, but it's fragmented. You got to bridge from one to the other. And so people are now saying, well, if Solana is this fast, let's just put everything on Solana and then we don't have to worry about all this fragmentation and bridging and blah, blah, blah. And so that's sort of where the market is at. And everyone's kind of decided out of nowhere over the last 2 months, like, okay, we're done with the modular thesis. We're going with Solana because we can just get everything on that one chain. And there's a few reasons why this doesn't make sense. The first is what should be obvious to everyone, which is we're not going to have everything on one chain. That's just obvious. There's a million other chains that all also have benefits to it and have good apps on them. And so no matter what, whether it's a bunch of L1s or we have a bunch of L2s, you're going to have bridging from chain to chain. We're going to need to move assets from one chain to another regardless. And so I ask people all the time on Twitter, I'm just like, okay, unless you think everything goes on Solana moving forward, which isn't just never going to happen, we're going to need bridging. So would you rather bridge from an L2 to an L2, which already exists as fast, as cheap, as easy? Or would you bridge from L1 to L1, which is already quite difficult and more expensive and very risky at the moment? So like in terms of bridging, it's actually better to do it from L2s. Now, if you never have to bridge, cool, but just that's never going to happen. Although when I get into what we talk about in just a second, we're going to abstract all that way regardless. Let's talk about, there's two takes, one that DC Investor said, one that I said, that I just want to read and go through real quick to help people understand where things are at. So DC Investor says, he tweets out, says, the L1 or layer 1 bet is on degens doing swaps, all on the same on-chain throughput this entire bull market. The L2 bet is on new or traditional web apps using existing L2s or creating their own to leverage their own censorship resistance value. Both will do well, but L2s have exponential mainstream potential. So what does that mean? What are we talking about here? What people are stuck on at the moment is they think that the way we have used blockchains in the last 4 or 5 years is how we will use blockchains in the future and how new people use blockchains in the future. And what I want people to understand is that that's just simply not the case. There is tens of thousands of people that will degen the shit out of any blockchain, regardless of its UX, using these weird wallets and these shitty apps and farm airdrops and blah, 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 like we all do, right? Most 99.9% of the world will never do that. It doesn't matter how good you make the UX, how fast it is, how cheap it is. Just most people in this world will never do that. So what will most of the world do? They will just use the internet like they normally do. But eventually one day that will all be powered by things on chain. Okay. But it won't be connecting wallets in this way and like, getting your assets from Coinbase over to this thing and like doing all this. They'll just go use an app and it will just work. Okay. And this is where the modular framework makes so much more sense. Go over to mine. I'm just going to read my thread that I posted this morning. It's starting to gain some attention. People are liking it. But here's why I think the L2 thesis is still not dead and is actually playing out better than I think most of us thought. And it's really funny because it's going really well right now, yet everyone's fading it, thinking that this is weird and shitty. So the L2 thesis is playing out better than I think most predicted, yet everyone is fading it all of a sudden. It's become a joke that there is now so many L2s, but this was the plan all along. What people are missing here is that Ethereum has found product market fit for ecosystems, providing a settlement layer for other blockchains. Ethereum is not built for apps like Solana is. That's the key thing that I think people don't realize. Solana is building for apps. Ethereum is building for chains. Okay? Ethereum is built for blockchains, i.e. L2s. And there will be many blockchain ecosystems. Some will be private ones, whether that's for banks or financial institutions. Some will be public ones, like we already have. Some will be app specific, like we already have, like Flipkart just did. And some will be general purpose ones, like Arbitrum and Optimism, right? And companies like Coinbase, like OKX, like Kraken, like Flipkart, like Immutable, and many others are building ecosystems, not apps. They don't want to build on Solana because they want to build their own ecosystem. And so the choice of companies that want to build an ecosystem, and think about how many companies in the Web2 world are building ecosystems. Zoom, OpenAI, Amazon, Apple, Google, all the biggest companies in the world are building ecosystems, Tesla, right? Where other developers build on top. And the thing is that if you want to build an ecosystem for whatever reason, Immutable wants to change Web3 gaming. So they need an ecosystem, not an app. So they can't build what they want on Solana, right? And so for example, Immutable is building infrastructure for Web3 gaming and they need a Web2-like UX. What that means is they can't have any gas fees. And so they can't do that on Solana, right? Unless they build an L2 on Solana, but right now that infrastructure doesn't exist. And so what they need to do is build an L2 on Ethereum so they can abstract away gas fees, abstract away wallets, and have a Web2-like experience, and they pay the gas fees for all of their apps and all of their users, right? That's where the future is going of blockchains. No more gas fees, right? And the reason that people want companies want L2s is because they have the ability to be flexible and change the functionalities of it, whether it's abstracting away gas fees, whether it's having private transactions, whether it's having zero knowledge proofs, whatever it is that they want to do for their specific ecosystem, they have the ability to do that as a layer 2 on Ethereum and not have to worry about the complexities, the costs, and the risks in having and hosting your own blockchain that has its own security. That's very difficult to have your own token, to figure out how to make that thing sustainable, to get validators, blah, 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 blah. That is so difficult. Barely anyone has been able to do this successfully, right? And so it's very difficult to do that. And so what's happening now is people go, oh, I don't have to create my own chain, but I don't want to build an existing chain because I need my own features. And so I can just use an L2 and I can spin that up in a matter of days. That is the future. And so one thing I want to say is there's going to be hundreds of companies that are going to require the same flexibility. And so yes, currently there are users all over on different L2s and it looks weird to people. There's a new L2 launching every single day and there's liquidity all over the place and bridging sucks, but that's all getting fixed. We got to remember one thing. We've only had L2s for less than 2 years, right? But for most people in the world, that 99.9% that I talked about, they won't use blockchains like we do now. Most people in the world will never bridge. They will never farm an airdrop. They will never have to use a MetaMask wallet. They will never do any of that stuff. They will just use an app, just like when you use FriendTech, right? Where you didn't have to get a MetaMask wallet. The wallet just existed in the app itself and you just went and used it. You never had to do any of that stuff. And it'll feel like a normal Web2 app. And so just like when you use FanDuel or DraftKings or you use PayPal, you open up the app, you create an account, Maybe you had to send some money in there so you can start gambling, or you can start paying using PayPal, whatever. Same sort of idea where it abstracts away all the stuff underneath. And so bridging will not exist. And yes, bridging will exist from one L2 to another, but it'll happen automatically under the hood. You won't have to do it yourself like you have to today. And so liquidity and users will not be fragmented. They'll actually just be composable. And this is the world we are already entering in the L2 ecosystem. And so it's funny, when back in 2017, when everyone was launching tokens, everyone was like, why do we have so many tokens? We don't need this many tokens, right? We've got Bitcoin, we've got ETH. We don't need more tokens. And then what happened? Now we have tens of thousands of tokens, and that's like the whole normal part of this ecosystem. The same thing is happening, I think, with L2s, where everyone's like, why do we have so many L2s? We don't need L2s. And it's like, no, we do need L2s. Every company wants their own ecosystem. And so we're going to have a ton of L2s, and that's the norm. So this is product market fit for Ethereum, and we're seeing it happening in real time, but most people just can't wrap their head around what that is. And so I think it is a big moment for ETH, and this is why I'm not fading the fundamentals. I think the fundamentals are very, very strong for Ethereum at the current moment.
Damn, mic drop. What a take. If you guys aren't following Kai on Twitter, X, you need to be following this guy at Kyle Reedhead. I'm going to show your Twitter for you right now, Kai. We'll throw the link in the show notes. Make sure you follow him because he's got some great takes. I'm bullish on Kyle in 2024.
More than Ethereum?
Always. Kyle token.
Kyle, that's your input. Kyle with hat.
Kyle with hat.
I like that.
Okay, let's keep rolling along. Next story. What's going on with inscriptions? What the heck are inscriptions, and why are they taking down so many blockchains and having such an effect across the ecosystem?
Yeah, we won't get too deep into what inscriptions are because we've talked about them previously, but you could think of inscriptions similar to that of an NFT, except instead of minting an NFT via a smart contract on a blockchain like we do currently, it is basically in a typical swap, like a typical trade, you would do a transaction on chain. You can put like data inside of that thing. And so you can put an image in there and all of a sudden it mints it on chain, but only for the same cost as it would be to like do any normal transaction, like sending ETH on Ethereum or AVAX on Avalanche. So it's a very cheap way to put data on chain. That's what Bitcoin ordinals are. And that became a big thing. And so all of a sudden we've had this Cambrian explosion of people doing this on every chain. And the thing is, because it's cheaper to put images on chain, you can do a whole bunch of these. And so they start to clog the chains because they get so many transactions. And so it's a bit weird. The reason why it's not as good, or why I would say it's not as good, is you don't have any functionality. So the reason that minting an NFT as a smart contract is great is it's a smart contract, which means it's programmable and you can do things with it, like unlock access and do all the other great things we always talk about with NFTs. You can't do any of that with inscriptions. So it's literally just you put a picture on a blockchain and then it's just, that's it. It's done. It's like there's just not really a point in them other than putting something on a blockchain, so it's immutable.
Yeah, other than an immutable piece of art or anything else that you want to make immutable that you never want to change or use in any other way.
You know, I actually just want to clarify. I'm not saying that it's useless or not useful. There are use cases for it. But for most of the things we've always talked about NFTs, this isn't that. So there will be inscriptions. This is a thing now. It's going to be a thing in the future. Don't fade inscriptions. But it doesn't mean NFTs are now gone. It's a new primitive on top of blockchains, but just very different than what an NFT is, but also related to images, which is the thing I want.
Yeah, if you were to like put this on like a chart, inscriptions have limited use case. NFTs have millions of use cases beyond what we can even imagine right now, because there's going to be things built with NFTs that we don't even know about yet.
NFTs are Ethereum or Solana. Inscriptions are Bitcoin. There's your way of understanding it.
Yeah.
You can't do anything on Bitcoin, but you can do a bunch of expressive things on smart contract platforms.
So here's what happened in the last week as a result of Inscription Mania. We got Memecoin Mania going on. We got Inscription Mania. We might have a couple local top signals happening here, Kai. But first, Arbitrum went down for an hour. Yes, Arbitrum was down because there was so many inscriptions being put on chain. You don't mint an inscription technically, I guess you kind of do, that it took down Arbitrum for an hour. Then Avalanche was being overwhelmed, and in 5 days, Avalanche users paid over $14 million in fees for inscriptions. That's crazy. That's way more in fees than people would normally pay on Avalanche. I got a chart up here to show the percentage of inscription transactions across chains. So you can see that Avalanche was over 90%. Gnosis,
All transactions, yeah.
Gorley, 65%. Arbitrum, 62%. ZK, Sync, Era, 58%. Polygon, 40%. Phantom, 32%. So you've got just massive inscription volume happening across all of these chains. And it's obviously having an effect on all of them because they're all getting clogged up. They weren't prepared for this. They weren't built for this. So there's an impact, and it's going to, I don't think this is going to continue long term. I think inscriptions, as you said, have a use case, and I think there will be people who lean into that the same way Bitcoin ordinals are continuing to grow. But I think right now this is a fad and a narrative that has just caught fire that will not continue throughout the bull market.
But I'm assuming what you mean is not continue on this growth trajectory.
Exactly.
They will exist. They just won't continue on this growth trajectory, my assumption. But we also said that when Bitcoin ordinals come out, and now that growth trajectory has taken off when you count for all chains. But yeah, right now it's just bought. Like go to the chart that shows how many inscriptions. This was the Polygon CEO or founder who has a chart here, a table. There's been 161 million inscriptions on Polygon, 77 million on BNB, 60 million on Avalanche, and so on and so forth. So like these are just bots that are just inscribed. Like, couldn't have humans doing this many. It's insane numbers. It's a wild ride. It took down Arbitrum, didn't take down Avalanche, but it became almost unusable. It was basically more expensive than Ethereum to swap on Avalanche. It's like $15. And then, but Polygon remained sort of low, its fees, and has managed this 161 million. I guess, do we want to dive into that a little bit further, Jay? What do you think?
Sure. You want to talk about Polygon? And yeah, let's share a take on Polygon, and they're sort of showing off. And the one thing I don't really love here is Sandeep, who's the founder of Polygon. So he's on Twitter bragging right now that Polygon has been able to handle the 161 million inscriptions, and basically saying like, our chain has been so great. We've made all these amazing upgrades that have allowed this to happen. And other chains are not doing so well through this, which I just think, one, like you shouldn't be bragging about that. You shouldn't be like trying to put down other chains and saying these kind of things as a leader. It just doesn't really make sense. But also it's like, Polygon is not an impressive technology at all. Polygon proof of stake, their other technologies are, their layer 2s, their ZKs, whatever, but Polygon proof of stake is just a copy of Ethereum with 1/100th of the amount of validators, 1,000th of the amount of validators. And so it's basically a database. And so like, you should be able to handle this many transactions. You have 180 validators, that's it. And you basically haven't done much to Polygon versus what Ethereum is, other than increase the block space, completely centralized it. So like, you're basically a database. Like, yeah, you should be able to handle this stuff. You don't have anything innovative here. Now, Solana handling this is a whole different story. That is a decentralized platform that is running very different than something like Ethereum, and it is handling it no problem. And they've got parallelization, which is like making priority fees in certain areas of the chain. Like, they're doing some really cool things here. Polygon has not done anything. You just have a really cheap centralized chain. And that's nothing against Polygon per se. They are rolling up to be an L2. I think that's going to be an amazing technological feat to do that. So like, still bullish on Polygon, but just like, I don't know, people are just bragging about metrics that just don't really matter. And that kind of annoys me. Okay, let's go over to what is exciting to brag about is our friends at Privy just announced global wallets. Kai, what is this?
Yeah, so this is actually goes along with the stories of what I was just talking about layer 2s of the fragmentation and kind of everything being all over the place. If we think of FriendTech, which is kind of our best example of a abstracted away, like blockchain abstracted away app, not perfectly, but a lot of things were abstracted away if you've tried FriendTech. And the reason that worked is they had embeddable wallets. And so meaning you just log into an app like you normally do with an email, phone number, like whatever, and that app has an embeddable self-custody wallet within it. Now, that wallet can't go and interact with other apps. It only works in that one app. And so when liquidity is in there, it just stays in that app, but you have a backdoor. You have the ability to basically retrieve your private keys and move it over to something like a MetaMask that then can connect to anything else. So that's the key thing is it's great. It's still self-custody. You still own your assets and you can pull out and do your own thing at any point that you want. So this has been an incredible innovation in our space. So FriendTech does this, Blackbird does this. There's a bunch of other apps that are beginning to do this on Base and other layer 2s. something we really, really need. But the problem, or somewhat of the problem, is now you have sort of this like, how many wallets you can have. It's kind of like today we have 100 apps. And so I have how many logins for every single app. And sometimes like in some, we don't have a lot of apps that require money inside of them in Web 2. Usually you just connect a credit card, but something like a FanDuel or a DraftKings, you do put money into them. Roblox, you put money into them and it's just stuck in there. What's really cool is what Privy has built is global embeddable wallets, which is a way to actually connect all of your embeddable wallets across these apps into one wallet. And so now you can start to control the assets and move the assets from these wallets from one UX, essentially one interface. And so instead of like, you probably forget what all the apps you have and what all the embeddable wallets you have, you sort of can link them all together. How it's going to work, I'm not fully sure yet. It launches in Q1 of next year, but they are basically trying to solve that next UX issue of, okay, we're going to have embeddable wallets. That's a for sure thing. It makes complete sense. Now, what do we do about connecting them all, make them all interoperable? That's what they're solving here with global embeddable wallets. So this will be a big thing. I think you'll be able to do this with Blackbird, FriendTech, and others. And so that's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, shout out to Henry and the whole Privy team. We had Henry, the founder of Privy, on the podcast a few months ago. If you want to dive more into understanding what exactly they are building, go check that episode out. It's a really good one. Okay, rolling along. Well, we're talking about Privy. FriendTech, which used Privy's embeddable wallet, just came out with a big announcement 2 days ago. This was their announcement of V2 coming in spring 2024. I don't know if you watched this video. This was like a K-pop video of a singer singing in Korean, and then like a poem, like an inspiring poem that was overlaid over top of the video about basically what happened with FriendTech, how they came out and they didn't expect it to be so big, and then it was so exciting, and now they are really excited that they're working on V2. They also kind of reminded everybody that this was all beta up until now, which is pretty crazy when you think about the numbers that they achieved. Now, at the end of this video is where there's some hints of what might be coming with V2. There's 4 icons on the screen that they end with. I think that, the last 2 are really obvious. NFTs, they're going to integrate NFTs. They don't have NFTs currently. P is obviously points. They're going to have points. They already have points, yeah. And they talked about an airdrop coming at some point. So
that's the end of points and maybe it's the airdrop time?
That's kind of what I'm thinking, or maybe it's their first airdrop and they go to the Blur model and that's season 1, right? Yeah. Then the keys and the multiple keys, I got to imagine that's something about, embeddable wallets and the way that you manage your money. I'm not sure.
Well, the keys, they already have embeddable wallets, but keys are the shares, right? That's what they have. They use keys. That's what, when you bet on something, you're betting on a key. The multiple keys is maybe you could have multiple accounts. Maybe it's not just Twitter accounts you're connecting now, or maybe your chats can be grouped. Like me and you could have a together key. And so like someone could buy an index of keys where like you buy you and I, and we're like you and I can chat in that and people can be a part of it. Maybe. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking, but it's hard to say. Who knows? Either way, I wonder if, I'm assuming FriendTech is bigger in Asia, which is probably why they went the K-pop route of their branding. I don't know if that's true, but I'm just assuming that. But fun fact, FriendTech is the second highest revenue generator of any app on any chain this year. So pretty impressive. Second to OpenSea, which was a little bit wild. Now, we have up on the screen here our Dune dashboard of FriendTech, and the volumes have gone way, way, way down. The revenues are way lower. Where is the revenues in here? I wonder what they're making on a weekly basis, I think. Weekly protocol fees, there you go. 187,000 last week. That's still pretty damn good. I think they only have a team of 4 or 5 people. Mm-hmm. So they've made over $50 million since launching in August. Or sorry, what is that, 26 million?
26 million. I've seen as high as 40 million that they've made.
It's because 26 million went to FriendTech, 26 million went to creators. They've generated $50 million in value, but half it went to them, half it went to the creators. So quite impressive, to say the least. And I don't know, I don't use it anymore, but I do think I'm very bullish on SocialFi and what this is going to do. So I'm excited to see what they do next.
The other take that I saw that I liked was that FriendTech has decreased substantially in terms of its active users from, they were up 20K per day in the hype down to under 1,000 now. They basically turned into a quiet farm because a lot of folks have parked their ETH there because they don't want to miss out on a potential airdrop that's coming in 2024. So we'll see what happens with V2.
They need to lower their fees because no one wants to trade on there anymore because it costs 10% every trade, like every time you do it, which is just, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay, let's go to our favorite new segment in the show, Agree, Disagree, or Explain. First up here, got a tweet from Millie or Llama on the Brink. They say, in all my years in crypto, I have never seen Vitamin, that's referring to Vitalik, or Justin Drake, or even Joe Lubin brag about on-chain DEX, NFT, or stablecoin transfer volumes, much less a marginal rise in such metrics. Meanwhile, that's literally all the Solana leadership cares about, fluffy metrics. Let's onboard the next 100 million users. There are no moats once a user knows what a seed phrase is, they said, as they herded users to the only 2 closed source wallets available for the chain. They literally don't care about anything else in crypto except metrics.
So heavy take by Millie. I disagree with the ending part of it. I do agree with the first part of it, which is Vitamin or Vitalik. Justin Drake is like one of the core devs of Ethereum. Joe Lubin is the founder of Consensus. You don't ever see them pushing metrics. And the only reason why I like them saying that is last cycle, for those of you that weren't here, there were a few actors that were the leads of blockchains that did really, really, really well in the early days of the cycle. And they became these like Twitter trolls, bragging about everything, the most confident people in the world. And those names were who? Sam Bankman-Fried, Do Kwon, Su Zhu, Kyle Davies. If you don't know who these people are, they are all in jail, every single one of them. Also the founder of Celsius, like all of these guys were getting so like big-headed and bragging. And so I understand the take here, which is those that stayed level-headed, like Vitalik always has, tend to be better leaders and can produce better people within an ecosystem, which is very important. It's like if your CEO is just nuts, maybe that's not a good thing. Not saying any of these people are CEOs, but all that said, I don't mind the Solana team doing this. They needed to get loud. They have done an incredible job. And so like they also were basically thrown in the pit earlier this year and were like left for dead. And so like, I don't know, give them a little bit of bragging rights. They've done a great job to come back. Ethereum people, not the Ethereum leaders, did this in the last cycle too when everyone thought they were dead. It's like, I don't hate it yet. I do think that Anatoly, who's the founder of Solana, is a very good guy and seems to have like his head on his shoulders. But I will definitely watch closely to see if he changes. But so far, I think he's just a great dude and one of the best leaders in the space. And I put them up there with Vitalik. So like, I don't agree fully with this take.
I like that was an agree, a disagree, and an explain on that one. Okay, next up, this is from Imperior Osmo. Crypto is a game of narratives. In just the last month, we've gone through L2s, gaming, RWAs, memes, L1s. We're now on to EVM parallelism with SEI.
Parallelism. Say it with me, Jay. Parallelism.
Parallelism. This is a tough one.
It's a weird one. I agree with this completely. Crypto is fully a game of narratives. I wrote a bunch of reports over the last month or two in Pro of how to build your portfolio, tips for the bull market, etc. And there's nothing more important than just getting your bag set before the stuff goes crazy. And then just the best thing you can do as an investor is do nothing, right? Have your bets placed early and then just don't do anything. If you can, walk away for the next 2 years and come back next year and then you can sell because people just chase narratives, right? Remember, crypto is the only place where retail investors can get in on things that don't even exist yet. You don't need to be an accredited investor. You don't need to wait for things to go public. Anyone can post anything and you can do whatever you want. And most of these people also live on social media because we're all young. And so narratives drive everything. The moment whatever narrative picks up, everyone just moves their money there. They just don't care. It's a bunch of degens. And so if you can be ahead of those narratives, you can do extremely well. But most people are not ahead of those narratives. So you end up being exit liquidity for those that are creating the narratives. I mean, I saw this happen all the time last cycle. I got caught up in this last cycle too. Thankfully, it wasn't with a ton of money, but definitely something you want to be careful of. have your conviction and just stick with that. Don't try to chase these narratives because it's all a game.
It's amazing how easy it is to do well in investing if you don't fuck it up. But it is so hard not to fuck it up. Like, it's wild how you hear people say that, leading investors say that all the time. Kai, you wrote a report where you literally said, don't fuck it up as the title of the report, because that is what most people will do. So don't get caught in the narrative. I certainly got caught in the NFT narrative in the last cycle, and I got wrecked on NFTs, and I'm not making that mistake again.
So, okay, we've said Ethereum was one of my big conviction plays, and I think a lot of people that listen to this podcast are the same. And so a lot of people are like, should I be jumping ship right now? And it's like, dude, you're up 85% on the year.
It's not good enough, though.
But it's like, I know Solana's up 700%, but no one put their whole bag in Solana when it was at $8. So like, again, these are just like, it's perspective. And people just think, oh my God, I missed out on 700%. It's like, no, you didn't. Like, almost nobody got that 700%, and no one got their full bag on that 700%. I know, but then people go and calculate. They go, well, if I had all of my ETH in that in January when it was this price, like I'd be, have $1 million now. And it's like, dude, you still are up 85%, and it's probably going to go up another however many X next year. Like, you could still do nothing, and you're going to beat almost every single investor in TradFi world and still do really, really well and like quadruple 5X your money. And you literally don't do anything, and you didn't choose the best asset. Like, instead, what people do is sell it, and they'll go buy the next whatever coin that then they get dumped on, and they end up losing it all. It's like, dude, you missed out on an easy 5X. You were already in it.
There you go. Wow. So we got an agree here. And speaking of not being somebody else's exit liquidity, here's a take from NFT Stats. Bull market reminder: just because Bonk became a multi-billion-dollar token does not mean you should provide exit liquidity to the next 300 meme coin people that say they have the next Bonk.
Completely agree on this one. What's actually funny though, and I do, Raul, who's our content creator, our Twitter guy, our tweetor, he showed a video of you and I from, I forget when it was, months ago, of us saying that Bonk was going to go to zero or something like that. And obviously we were completely wrong. So I just want to do a self-pity, admit that we definitely missed the Bonk train, but I don't really care. Sorry to anyone who listened to that, but 100%, like, for the most part, if you're FOMOing into things that have gone up, I forget what Bonk's gone up, but it's something like 20, 40 or something. Then you're probably going to be exit liquidity. And just, again, if you don't know what you're investing in and you don't know why you're investing in, you don't know what you're going to sell it at, probably just don't do it.
Let's be real. That is not part of our thesis. We said the same thing about Pepe. We also said that Pepe was going to zero, and it went up a lot. Now, here's the reason why we say that. Well, there has been a Pepe and a Bonk that have gone up a lot. There have also been a ton of meme coins that did go to zero. So we are here to protect you from going to zero. Maybe you might have missed out on that 140X, but would you rather have some money that is safe and is going to do well throughout all of this? Or would you rather risk it all and go to zero? Like, that's your decision, And if you're a complete degen, go for it. But the risk is too high in my mind.
Yeah, not for me either. You got to have conviction in small things and just like in a few bets and go with those. Otherwise, like, you got to be okay with missing some. That's fun.
Yeah, that is exactly it. Don't get caught in the hype and the FOMO. Okay, that is a wrap on today's show. This is the last roll-up before Christmas. We will not be doing a roll-up next week because rather than doing the roll-up, we're coming at you with our 2024 predictions next Friday. So still tune in. We're still putting out podcasts next week as we usually do, but with a little bit of a shift. We're focusing on a wrap-up of 2023 coming at you early in the week. That's Tuesday. Next Wednesday, we got a wrap-up of 2023 markets. Kai's going to take a look at what happened in the markets and what that means for next year. And then Friday, we got our 2024 predictions. If you aren't subscribed to our newsletter, make sure you subscribe, because that's where we are going to continue to keep you up to date throughout the holidays on everything that is happening in the space. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. Thanks for supporting us in 2023. We're so grateful for that.
Happy holidays.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Excited for 2024. Kai, how you feeling about this year and the coming year?
Well, you're going to have to tune into the Market Watch next week, and I'll tell you how I feel about next year. Actually, no, that's in 2 weeks. I'm going to do a 2024. We have 2024 predictions next week, and then the week after that, the Market Watch is looking at what I'm thinking for markets. So you're going to have to tune into all these episodes we've got. We got a bunch of good stuff.
You're just teasing us, always teasing us. Appreciate every one of you for listening in. If you have a minute, give us a like, give us a follow on whatever platform you're on, give us a comment. Those things really help this podcast grow and us reach more people as we onboard people into this space and we all grow together. Have a great Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays.
Thank you for listening to Web3 Academy, your one trusted source to capitalize on the next big phase of the internet. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and subscribe or follow so that you don't miss the next one. While you're at it, there's a link in the description for our free newsletter where we provide timely and relevant Web3 insights so you can confidently build and invest in Web3. Make sure to subscribe today. One final note. This podcast is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Crypto and Web3 are risky, and you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. Thank you, friends, and see you in the next one.